Local businesses are increasingly turning to the familiar fields and courts of high school sports as a prime advertising venue. This strategic move is driven by a powerful combination of direct community engagement, targeted marketing, and the potential for a significant return on investment. By aligning their brands with the passion and excitement of scholastic athletes, companies can forge strong connections with a valuable local audience. In this episode, we'll talk about how aligning your brand with the passion and excitement of scholastic athletics, companies can forge strong connections with a valuable local audience. Welcome to Mastering Local Marketing. My name is Matt Hansen, and I am here with Jim. Jim is going to be our expert today because this is his area of expertise. So, Jim, how are you?
I'm doing well. Thank you for letting me onto your podcast. If you guys listen to the first 69 of these, I'm usually in that other role. So it feels really weird. I have always been the worst person to get interviewed. You know what I mean? I'm good at interviewing, but getting interviewed,
Yeah.
I feel like I'm wearing somebody else's underwear or something. You know, it's uncomfortable.
Great. I'm glad we're going to try this live on air. This is
People don't realize that they would be catching this podcast at another time, that we're live on local radio and local TV.
So here, tell me, why are you the expert in this?
So here, there's two, in a global sense, many people that would listen to this Mastering Local Marketing are kind of like you, are very good on the digital and social media, and you're good at protecting your reputation on social media, at buying Google and Facebook ads. What kind of ads should you put on there? So 20 years ago, we wouldn't have been able to do this podcast because it would all be, if you were doing Mastering Local Marketing, it would be like, how do you buy in a newspaper? How do you do circulars? How do you do cable ads? How do you do radio? How do you do local TV? All that. So now the Mastering Local Marketing is all about integrating mostly social and digital media. But there's an odd thing happening in a global sense, in that there's what one of our clients, our main clients, pointed out to me about a year ago. And I'm like, man, I never even thought of that. But she's like, here's what I think is going to happen in the next year. She goes, I think that it's going to be the pivot to local marketing. I go, well, what do you mean? Like buying ads on? No. Actual local marketing. And if you believe that, then you'll listen to the rest of this podcast. If all you believe in is for your business or for your marketing department is going out and buying Facebook ads and Google search words and putting up TikTok videos, then this might not fit until you start thinking about what Jed TV Sports Network has done. It's basically merged traditional media and with the streaming and all of that. So I know that's on a global. On a specific thing, I have Jed TV Sports Network, and what we did is we pivoted out of radio and we just started doing our own video on TV and streaming. And then we were doing it on Facebook Live, and I think one year we got 15 million views. And then we're like, hey, you know what? Why don't we do our own network, our own platform? Well, we looked, and it's like a ton of money, and then COVID came. And the government gave us a ton of money. We had to keep everybody working. So we built our own platform at rock bottom prices because nobody had any work. So all of a sudden we have this platform that we're doing games on, and we're also doing news and sports and all that. It turns out people love the sports, the talk and the news and all that, not so much. So we just a week ago made it the Jed TV Sports Network. And we stream high school games. We do tournaments. We do taekwondo tournaments. Once in a while, we'll do something else like a graduation or a State of the Union. But for the most part, what we do is we stream high school games and we sell ads.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people don't think about the high schools in regard to athletics and all of that. Now, I get it. There are certain states in the United States that are heavy, especially in the South with football and all those types of things. But I've seen the resurrection. I mean, I used to play sports in high school, and to try and figure out a way to hear the game or to watch the game was impossible back then. So today, I think it's interesting because there are so many new players coming up to kind of, I've seen it probably for the last 10 years, people trying to get this going. But now in the last 2 years, I've really seen an emergence of local sports becoming part of especially our area. People are talking about it. You're seeing it everywhere, and maybe it's just algorithms and all that other fun stuff for me, but I'm seeing a lot more of it. But you mentioned the fact that people are moving to local marketing. And again, if I'm posting something on TikTok or Instagram or any of these platforms, you're going to get people that see you in other locations, right? So let's say Dallas, Texas, somebody might see my post, but I don't sell in Dallas, Texas. I don't do any kind of business that anyone in Dallas, Texas is going to buy from me. So why is that important? Well, now you have to realize that I'm putting all of this effort into things where people are going to see my content that aren't going to be my customers. So now I need to look at more of a local level. So what you're saying is the local sports is a guarantee that you're going to be in a local area, right? So we have, I don't know, 20, 30 different high schools around here that have outstanding athletics. We're in we're right over the border from Chicago. So we kind of have a huge population in Indiana. We're not Indianapolis, but we have a huge population, which has provided us with some outstanding athletes and some outstanding teams that go downstate every year, right? So you mentioned the halo effect a lot, and I want to bring that up. What does that entail?
So ultimately, look at like national sports. It has just ballooned. I mean, big brands pay billions to be by D1 and pro athletes, right? Well, why do they do that? I mean, it's such a premium from other CPMs. And why do they do that? Because it's pretty specific, and they don't like to really talk about it, but is this the halo effect of being on sports. And basically, you have positive feelings for your team and for the excitement of the game, and you transfer that to the brand that comes up into the commercial.
Right.
It's the sports halo effect. I guess it's not really taught. You probably never taught that in any of your classes, but it's becoming more and more important because now there's about half of the schools in the country stream their games. In 5 years, it is expected that all schools will stream their games. So that gives an automatic method for the local business, a place to put TV ads just like the big guys. Mm-hmm. And that's my business. We started streaming, and then we all of a sudden say, why are so many people asking for meetings with us and wanting to advertise on here? I don't get it. We're trying to force feed them all the news and the talk, and all they wants to be next to the high school athletes. We did the research. The digital sports halo effect is real at the big level, and now it's coming to the local level. So how do you get involved, or how do you get involved in that? What we're doing is one of the ways to do that is find out who's streaming those games and get on those games, because it is way underpriced right now.
Yeah.
And for what you're getting. And you know that you're getting the halo effect and that you're getting the targeted audience. Sometimes we'll get other people out of market watching the games, but typically those are college recruiters because we offer the games for free, which is good. We're okay with that because then that is okay. And it tells the athletic directors and the schools, well, people might get a college scholarship about having this game on TV. And so other than that, we do the games and we may have 1,000 viewers throughout the night for a game. 950 are from our local area. You don't have to buy Facebook localized, taking the only that cell phone that's in a certain area, because you already know no one else is going to watch the Highland Griffith football game that we have on this Friday night.
Right. And sports are embedded into our culture, right? So you've heard me talk about it in the past on the podcast, how I grew up a Bears fan. We're about to start the NFL season. All of my friends are optimistic. I'm playing pessimistic this year. I'm taking the opposite approach finally. But
if they win half their games, that would be a big accomplishment.
I said 6, but anyways, I know it's bad. But we grow up with it embedded in our culture, right? So I grew up, it's the Bears, it's anti-Packers, it's White Sox or Cubs. You pick one or the other. You're not both. But when we look at high school, that's your high school that you went to. It's the memories that you have that are associated with going through that high school that you remember when you're watching these games, which is why they are so passionate about watching these games, right? It's a little bit of like just history and camaraderie and all this like really fun things that you remember from the athletics back in the day. And that is associated with future teams. It's always going to be your team. It's always going to be your school, right? So my wife and I went to different high schools, and it took me a long time to embrace the high school that my kids go to because it was always, that school, right? And I still to this day, as they're going through, and I have friends and parents that will go to the games or watch the games, and I'm just like, nah, I'm good, right? But I found myself watching my old high school play the football games at state championships and things like that, right? So there's this deep passion for your school. When we mention the halo effect, what we're doing is we're transferring that deep love, that passion for that school to the brands that have associated themselves with that team. So what we're doing is we're putting them together, and you're building your brand off of the passions, the love for that team, and that's what we call the halo effect, and that's why people do it, right? So unlike professional athletes or professional teams that can have kind of the craziness that goes along with an athlete, right? I just recently watched it's kind of like a documentary on Mark McGuire and Sammy Sosa, and it's talking about, the steroid era and Barry Bonds and all that kind of stuff. I mean, again, something like that is a negative that you don't want to be associated with. But on a high school level, it's very rare that you get something that blows up like that, right? It's a safer play.
That is a people start to understand the halo effect, but that is another one, and let's just look at this. We started out a TV network as having both discussion about politics and sports on the same network. And we had a number of brands come to us and go, man, we really love this sports. We love your numbers, and they always know that it's underpriced. But we don't want to be next to that other stuff.
Yeah.
We stay away from social media because we don't want to be put next to any political talk or any disgusting stuff. We just want to be next to your games. So we've had to split it. And that is now it's just a sports network. And quite frankly, I can't believe the demand for just that pure connection with high school athletics. This has been going on for a long time at the upper level. Mm-hmm. And the D1 and the pros. The reason that you say you're so passionate about the Bears is partly because you watch the games.
Yeah.
Right? But you couldn't until recently, and still can't for some, can't watch your local high school. That is all changing and is all about to change. And business, the smart money knows this, and they're getting on the halo effect at the local level for, a minor 0.1% of the cost of doing it at the national level.
So obviously, it's moved from pro to college with the no money and all of that to kind of the high school level. So there's a variety of options. I know you talk about the sports network, but from an advertising standpoint, let's say I own a business out there. We have 3-4 different high schools in my farm. The place is, where I'm pulling customers from. what can I do? What are some of the opportunities that are out there for those?
So certainly this thing that we're doing is not in every market.
Right.
Okay. But if it is in your market, start there. You can get a TV commercial onto a high school game at a really reasonable cost right now because it is a very nascent uh, platform way of advertising. But you can go straight to your high schools or to your conference and get in on it. Let's look at a high school. Go straight to your high school. Your athletic department is going to have a few sponsors already. You go by the high school football field, you see the banners hanging from the stands. You might see the scoreboard, and at the bottom it has some advertising on it. You can have signage at location. You go onto their website, and they have 4 or 5 sponsors there. And then you go to the game, and then they say at halftime, hey, don't forget to go over to Arnie's Hot Dogs and get a hot dog. And you could do that at several high schools. And you can start to build that halo effect at the live events. And then what is happening also is that newspapers have kind of gone out of favor, and we've never even done a podcast or an episode about how do you use newspapers. But a number of the high schools are coming up with publications that are basically the old programs. Now nobody has a program, but they might have a publication about what went on in all the sports in that school, and that's what we've partnered with for one of our conferences to do that. And they're selling ads into it like crazy. People are like, hey, I can be on with a TV commercial, and I could be in this little newspaper you're doing, and you're on the radio. I'm in. You know what I'm saying? So, other than that, there aren't that many opportunities. Certainly, like if you're a restaurant, you may go to the athletic directors and say, hey, you know what? I'll give you guys a free meal. Just bring everybody over here, and I'll pay for all the teammates. And then they bring their parents, and then they come at other times. But I think what it really boils down to is understanding the value that people have had with big-time sports for a long time that is now coming to the smaller sports situations and try to attach your brand to that.
Yeah. And the other thing, too, that we should probably look at is, and I say this a lot, is to look at what others have done in the past, right? So if we're moving from pro sports to college sports to now high school sports, you should actually be looking at pro sports and college sports for what other opportunities they've developed out there, right? So is there a pregame party that you could create at a major, at a sectional for a football game or something like that? Could you do like a game day live type, with that, right? Like you could create opportunities there. I've worked with companies that have done halftime type programs where they're shooting from half court, and there are insurance policies that you can buy for that. There's all kinds of different ideas. So I guess what I'm saying is look at when you go to a game, when you go to a professional game, or you go to, take a look at the Savannah Bananas, for example, and see some of the things that they do. Can you create some kind of promotion like they do? Or is there a dedicated, like I love Fenway and how they have the one red seat in right field, which is the longest home run that's ever been hit in Fenway. Could something like that be a sponsorship opportunity? Like just get creative with how you can become part of the history and what's going on in the special events within that high school, and pull that out of a collegiate environment and say, how do I do that on a local level? Because they're probably not even thinking about that, and you can bring that to them and say, I want to do this.
We do media day, and we do it at a local restaurant, and they love that. They're like, man, you bring all these people, and then they see those people, those coaches, those parents, and the people that watched it live come, and there's a huge ROI on that. And you're basically talking about an attitude of, do I want to get involved in my community? I mean, certainly local sports is one way, and we're continuing that. But my projection over our projections over the next 5 years, those opportunities are going to expand greatly, and they're going to get quite a bit more expensive. So now's the time.
Yeah.
I sound like I'm going into, my I sit in front of people all the time, and I can't believe the demand for it. I will give you a good example of using what's going on. I went in the other day, and we're close, so I'll just say what kind of business it was. It was a pools business, and whirlpools and hot tubs and above ground pools. And they're like, hey, dude, it looks like your major advertisers are trade unions. And I'm like, yeah, well, I was a laborer. And the guy gave me the idea. He said, listen, what if I were to offer like a 10% discount on a hot tub or a pool to anybody who's in any of those unions, past or present? And I'm like, wow, that's pretty good. I wouldn't have thought of that.
Yeah.
But he was thinking of that. He wasn't just looking at what I'm offering.
Yeah.
He's looking at my audience. And that's another thing. If you're you do eyeglasses or whatever, what can you do if you see the audience out there to project that, hey, you know what, if you went to Munster High School and you're an alum.
Oh.
Yeah.
I've got the perfect one for that. You got a bad call in a baseball game. You've got the eyeglass sponsored by this optometrist. We'll give free glasses to the umpires after the game,
You see, you can get creative because they do that all the time at the bigger level. That has not come to the high school level. Right. So what I'm saying is that, especially about watching the games on TV, is coming to your area. We're doing it here. It's expanding pretty quickly, and you can go after the halo effect. Just understand that the halo effect is out there. There will be more opportunities. Certainly, we sell our social media posts. Here's one. We're sponsoring one right now where we had 8 football games on Friday. Who has the best cheering section? And we put up pictures of the different ones. 40,000 views in a couple hours. Yeah. And that was sponsored by one of our sponsors who man, I love that. I want that. I want to be part of that, that one. So when it goes on, it says, the Jed TV Sports Network, I don't know, crowd thing. And then it says sponsored by Boom right there on the Facebook post.
Oh, I've got so many ideas that we could do with this, but we've got to wrap it. But where do people find more information about you guys?
You just go to jedtv.com and you'll be able to see that. And then if you have any specific questions, like, hey, man, we're in some other area, how come we're not streaming our games or whatever, we're always open, and we're, pretty much tell everybody what we do and how we do it. So all you got to do is email me at jed@jedtv.com.
All right. That's a wrap for this episode of the podcast. Make sure you subscribe, and we will see you next week.